Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I want to talk about the conflict between states and cities in the United States and their federal government. I read a little bit about this conflict that they have now with President Donald Trump, and especially as a German, I find this topic very interesting. You might know that Germany is also a federal state. It's called the Federal Republic of Germany. It consists of 16 states that all have their own parliament and their own constitution and so on, and their own governor, of course. And that is not just since 1945. Germany has been federal for a long time. The Holy Roman Empire was also a federal state. There was the federal level, which was, of course, the emperor. And I would argue even the Pope in Rome was something of a federal institution. And then, of course, there were um, the local princes, the local lords that could be prince electors or kings or dukes or what have you. And there were many conflicts also in the Middle Ages and in modernity between these levels, these federal levels, or the Reich, the empire, and these local powers. Of course, in the United States, it's a little different. It is a republic. It is a modern democracy, kind of. And of course, these power struggles are not the same. If Donald Trump is having a conflict with a mayor or a governor from the Democratic Party, the interests or their agendas are, of course, different than when the Holy Roman Emperor was duking it out with the Pope or with some local lord or with a noble family that ruled over a different domain. That is clear, but I always like to see these recent conflicts more in a historical framework and maybe on a more abstract level, on a more general level, some of these conflicts, some of these clashes have similar causes or patterns at least. Okay, so I have read a little bit about it, and to me, it seems like there are two cases here that I want to distinguish. The first one is very clear, actually, and that is what happened in Washington State. That means a federal court building was under attack by colorful, peaceful protesters, of course. Um, and the federal government, of course, has a responsibility here, in the short term at least, to protect their assets, to protect their employees, their officers, and their structures their in the states, in the local states. So I read a little bit about it. So there is a state court system, and then there is a federal court system in the United States. And the federal courts, they have also certain districts that might coincide with the state borders, but they also might not. And they deal more with whether or not something is constitutional or not, right? That is at least what my quick research found out. I'm not a legal expert, and of course, I'm not a legal expert in the United States or of the United States legal system, but I see that President Trump feels responsible, of course, for the men and women who work there, who try to do the work that they have to do in this federal court. And also, he must protect the court itself. So that is a very clear-cut case. And if I find it absolutely preposterous, I have to say, when some mayor or some governor says, no, you have to allow us basically to destroy the building and to harass the officers, and there is nothing you can do about it, or we will just call you a totalitarian dictator or something. That is absolutely crazy. Of course, the federal government has the right and the duty to protect the federal court. The other case is Chicago. That is sending federales, federal troops, to a city that has become very unsafe, where crime is on the rise and people are feeling unsafe with lots of victims in a short amount of time. And that is a whole different scenario, because technically law enforcement, police work, maintaining the peace, that falls into the responsibility of the mayor or of the governor. But yeah, I think of the community mayor. It would be the mayor of Chicago, some whatever lightweight, that is, to do that. But if they refuse to do that, I don't know if the federal government really has a role to play. Of course, I think that is more a political decision compared to the first case from Washington State. I think Trump, that is, he wants to position himself as the protector of the people. And, in Chicago, there are mostly colorful people, and he wants to score higher with them. And maybe it is a bet that he's willing to make, that while the Democrats are trying to frame this as federal overreach, or stormtrooper-esque crackdown on these poor minority communities, maybe Donald Trump thinks, or his staff thinks, that if he shows the people that he wants to protect them and to enforce the law and to police these areas, that more people than not would actually think that this is a positive thing, especially in minority communities that are the majority in Chicago, by the way. So that is more a political question, I think. Of course, the cynic in me would say, they made their bed, now let them lie in it. I mean, some people say, and I think I can understand where they're coming from, that these people in these blue states and blue cities, that they have to feel some consequences for their voting behavior and for their actions, and therefore the federal government should not go to Chicago and work with local law enforcement to just generally police the city. This is not about protecting federal assets there, a federal court, for example, like in Washington State, but this is more general police work there. And yeah, I would understand it if you say, well, you can beg as much as you want. Policing and law enforcement is your responsibility. I'm not doing this. Of course, the president says that people are committing federal crimes there. Yeah? Um, and this is why federal law enforcement has a cause to go there. Um, that is one way to put it, but I always thought that also local police can go after these crimes and then just forward the cases to federal officers. I'm not sure if federal officers actually have to do the policing or have to catch the guy if a federal law was broken. That seems rather silly to me, that distinction. But so I have the feeling, and please, if you're American, if you know more about this, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this, especially in Chicago. If the federal government really has a responsibility, or if he just chooses to do that because he thinks that is maybe making him more popular, and that is kind of a bet, where he thinks that the reasonable honest people would, be more than the crazy outrage mob that sees any police officer as some Star Wars stormtrooper or something like that. Um, that is what I think at the moment. Yeah, that this is more a political case. Okay, so let me know in the comments down below what country you are from, maybe, if it's also a federal system, if these kinds of conflicts are also common there, or if you know these kinds of conflicts where the federal government, especially when it comes to these law and order or security issues, they have a distinctly different agenda or distinctly different opinion from some states or from some leaders of communities or municipalities, like we see in the United States at the moment. So, as I said, a side or a voice in me tells me he should just let them suffer a bit, and see what the consequences of their own actions are, and what kind of circumstances, what kind of suffering they bring about. On the other hand, this is a highly cynical thing to say. I'm very aware of that, because these circumstances produce, of course, real world victims that are in most cases not to blame, especially when it's children or minors. This is, of course, a horrible tragedy, a horrible loss, and young people, they didn't have any part in creating these circumstances and these environments. This is the adults, they are to blame here. A 16-year-old or 14-year-old child, teenager, what have you, they are not responsible for making Chicago what it is right now. And so maybe I shouldn't see President Trump as the uber cynic or the 40 chess player all the time. Maybe he truly thinks that he has a moral um, responsibility here. He thinks he has the resources to help. He should help, and every victim is one victim too much. And maybe that's what he thinks. I mean, who knows? Yeah, he seems a little bit of a dick at times. Yeah, but if he's confronted with these tragic cases, with these innocent victims, maybe he really thinks this is a moral cause here, and this is not about tactics or the campaign or what gives me more popularity points in what community. Who knows? Yeah, I'm not a mind reader. It could very well be true. All right. So this was it from my side. Let me know what you have to say about this down below. I catch you guys again later. Servus, Kameraden.